After the historical election, both at the national and at the local level, we seem to have got very few women in La. So I think there's a lot we need to do to encourage women to join politics. This is why when I heard about the Aum Lyonchhen project, I thought it's a wonderful opportunity to see how other countries have so successfully brought the women in the folds of the governance. And Denmark, for many reasons, is the obvious choice.
The generation before me, there were some women there who really were strong, and they went out in the public and they spoke about women's issues, and they were also actually a bit they were controversial in what they said. And some of these women also, they didn't have children either, the generation before me, because they didn't feel it could be matched or things like that. But they were very open about it. They said, I'm not going to have children because I can't make it fit in with my political career. And that actually sparked a public debate about, is that fair? And then people started thinking, no, that isn't fair. Because you are a human being before you are a politician. And the concept of having a family has to do with being a human being, not being a politician.
I think the key is to make the issue political, because that was one of the phrases used by the women's movement ways back, that it's not the individual's problem, it's a political problem. Because if it's only the individual's problem, then it's almost impossible for the individual to overcome.
When I came into parliament, I did not choose the normal feminine issues. I took energy, environment, and that type of things, which was natural with my background. And I think that was so in that respect, I was not a traditional women equal rights fighter. I have been a fighter for equal rights for both men and women, and I think this is important. And then I think in everywhere where I was in the position I had, I naturally, without thinking, say, hey, why don't you have any women here? And so in whatever you do, you should have this equality type of thinking. Why do we only have men here?
8 months after the first local government election results were declared, a national consultation workshop of elected women representatives was organized by the National Commission for Women and Children with support from the Danish Institute for Parties and Democracy and UN Women.
We share a vision of developing a good democracy which is good for people, and I think we share a vision with regard to women and the role of women in society and in politics.
KCD ngachara midenalo da ro migi shomsubero ngachara pehende mashimsugi ngachelu kachila mosewachin da chesu amsu butui alu aichi alu dazin thapgo chimnalu ladisu bego yani beoda tammideon se yani kangilchi thensi shunila
da chimnagi la bego be tele pa shezomna jo misada dewa thapgo be anzubeda la ngachelu genku thebi indigi Himalaya majority tidam se ngachelu logi chume.
It was no different in Denmark, where men generally perceived women as homemakers and responsible for the upbringing of children. To address these challenges, spreading the concept of sharing responsibility was key.
When I had my first child, in some of the newspapers, they wrote, one day after I gave birth to the child, she's going to be a very bad mother because she will only be on child's leave for 5 weeks and then she will be back in her office. And I said to these journalists, listen, there are maybe 2,000 Danish male ministers who've had children. They've never been told they were a bad father. But suddenly, because it's a woman, it's a big problem. So it's not a problem. You know, a child has got both a mother and a father, and the father is going to help me bring up that child.
One of the reasons why Danish women can play a greater role across decision-making levels can be largely attributed to the fact that Denmark has a widespread and good institutionalized daycare system.
We have the daycare institutions, which means that you have the possibility to be on the labor market even though you're a female. That you have this kind of after-school nurturing possibility for kids. So I think in general we have it from the kids are very small to they are grown, that the society in general takes care, together with the parents of the children.
I think it's also make it more easy for women to join politics, because it's being a politician, you can see it as just another job compared to other jobs you could have had as a woman.
For a young democracy like Bhutan, the first challenge is ensuring that the numbers of women interested and able to contest are given the necessary platform. Diversity in representation is considered integral for the deepening of democracy.
How important is women's voice in the parliament?
I think in a democratic society, the parliament should be representative for the population. So I cannot think of a male-dominated parliament as being democratic. And ask the men if they would accept, and if all the parliamentarians were women. You can talk about that in terms of justice. Women are half the population; they should have half the seats. But you could also talk about it in terms of experiences, that men and women, as long as men and women live so different lives, which they do, like it or not, the voice of women's experience should be heard in Parliament, of course.
Well, I think it's very important that women and men are present at a parliamentary level, at least 40% of each. And the reason why is that if they're not representative, they don't feel ownership for the decision made, and then it doesn't trickle down to the whole society, and it's needed.
When discussing the empowerment of women in politics, the issue of affirmative action through quota reservation remains a controversial issue worldwide. The debate has commenced to some degree in Bhutan.
The quota di yobachin ngachi legim onime di legim imbe simi tsa labya tunamela. So this is yes for quota, yes for reservation, yes for temporary measure. It's almost all, no?
Well, it's taken 100 years to get where we are today, where we are not totally equal, but more equal than before. So I think that's a long process. I think using quotas, you can speed up that process, because then you have to take the debates on, well, then how do we make sure that women want to be candidates, want to take up the positions? What are the barriers? What do we have to do about family, the way we organize family life, the way we organize society, the way we look on men and women. So I think it can be a valuable tool.